Good morning, everyone. This is Chetan Prakash Khurana, and on behalf of the PSC Enrichment Committee of ICI, welcome all the participants in today's meeting webcast on decision making under pressure, cognitive tools for CAs during deadlines and crisis. I welcome today's resource person CM Manish Goyal and the other participants over here. I'm audible to all?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, okay. I would like to introduce our speaker, CA Manish Goyal ji. CA Manish Goyal ji is a practicing chartered accountant under and partner at AAG and Company, Chartered Accountants, New Delhi. He completed his LLB in 2019 from Allahabad State University and qualified as a CA Chartered Accountant in 2024. He possesses rich professional experience in statutory audit, internal audit, income tax, GST advisory, and also has practical exposure to the commodity markets, adding depth to his financial understanding. Manish has been a speaker at various income tax and GST seminars organized by government department and professional bodies, where he shares practical experience based insight with participants. He also deeply committed to the student development. He regularly conduct career counseling session for 10th and 12th students, guiding them on career path, professional skills, and opportunities in commerce and finance. He expressed gratitude for being invited to speak on interpersonal skill and conflict management, a subject he believes is vital for CAs to excel beyond technical proficiency and thrive in today's professional landscape. Now, I will call CA Manish Goyal ji for his deliberation. Now, I'd like and CA Manish Goyal sir, welcome, and I will hand over to you for your deliberation.
Thank you, CA Chetanji. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my fellow chartered accountants joining us from across this beautiful, diverse nation of ours. Whether you are tuning in from Mumbai's bustling financial district, from a quiet corner office in Chennai, from Kolkata's heritage buildings, or perhaps from a small practice in tier 2 or tier 3 cities, welcome. Welcome to what I hope will be one of the most practically relevant hours you will spend this month. And before I begin, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to CA Jay Chaira sir, Chairman of PSCC, and CA Abhay Chajar sir, Vice Chairman of the committee, for giving me this incredible platform. The PSCC's vision of continuously enriching our professional capabilities is not just admirable, it's absolutely essential in today's world. So, thank you, sirs, for your leadership and for trusting me with this responsibility today. Now, let me start with a story. It's March 31st, around 11:47 p.m. You know, the date I am talking about, right? The magical night when half of India's chartered accountants are still in their offices, homes, or cafes, no, frantically working on tax returns. The coffee has turned cold. Your eyes are burning from staring at Excel sheets for 16 hours straight. Your phone is buzzing with client messages. Just one small query, sir. It will take only 2 minutes. No, yeah, we all know that 2 minutes somehow becomes 2 hours, and then it happens. Like your laptop hangs, or you discover a major discrepancy in the client's books, or the client sends you a WhatsApp message at 11:52 p.m. saying, "Sir, I just forgot to mention we sold a property in Feb. Is that a problem?" your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, and in that moment, you have to make decisions, critical, consequential decisions under immense pressure. This, my dear colleagues, is our reality. This is the world we inhabit. Today, we are not talking about accounting standards. You know these better, than your own mobile number. We are not going to discuss even the technical amendments. You are already drowning in circulars and notifications. Today, we are going to talk about something that nobody taught us in articleship, something that wasn't in our IPCC or final textbooks, something that determines we merely survive or truly thrive in this profession. How to make brilliant decisions when everything around us is on fire. We need to understand, cooker, call, some body while feeling calm, unhurried, and well rested. If you are thinking about it for more than 5 seconds, that probably means it's been a while, right? The chartered accountancy profession is fundamentally built on deadlines. We have statutory deadlines, regulatory deadlines, client deadlines, audit deadlines, tax filing, board meetings, all these. Our entire calendar is color coded with deadlines. If deadlines were a religion, we had all be devoted practitioners. But here is what is fascinating and slightly terrifying about our profession. We are not just working against time, we are making decisions that have massive consequences. Sign off on that audit report. You are putting your professional reputation and legal liability on the line. Advise that tax strategy. You are potentially saving or risking crores of rupees of your client. Approval of the financial statement. Again, the stakeholders worth millions are going to make decisions based on your judgment. And we are doing all this while managing multiple clients, dealing with regulatory changes that drop like surprise guests at our wedding, handling team members with varying skill levels, and trying to maintain some semblance of work-life balance. Though, let's be honest, that phase sounds like a mythical creature to most CAs. I remember when I was working on a major IPO a few years ago. The company was listing in about 3 weeks. Everything was on track, or so we thought. Then, during our final review, we discovered that there was a potential related party transaction that hadn't been disclosed properly. Not a small one, a significant one. Now, here is where the pressure really kicks in. The company had already printed thousands of prospectuses. The road shows were scheduled. Investment bankers were breathing down our necks. Promoters were anxious. Merchant bankers were calling every hour. And we had to decide, do we insist on revising the prospectus, or do we risk delaying the IPO, or do we try to find a way to work around it? The pressure in that moment wasn't just professional, it was visceral. I could feel my chest tightening. My mind was racing through scenarios, consequences, possibilities. This, my friends, is what I call a pressure crucible. And how we perform in these crucibles defines our careers. The neuroscience of pressure. Now, what's actually happening in your brain? Now, before we dive into the tools and techniques, I want to give you a quick neuroscience lesson. Don't worry, I'm not going to get you technical yet, but this isn't a medical conference, but understanding what's happening in your brain during pressure situations is absolutely critical to managing them better. When you are under pressure, then when the client calls at 11:30 p.m. with a crisis, or when you discover a major error just before a deadline, when you are sitting in a hostile board meeting, your brain triggers what's called the stress response. You have probably heard of it as the fight or fight response. Here is what happens psychologically. Your amygdala, which is like the alarm system of your brain, detects a threat. It immediately sends a distress signal to your hypothalamus, which is like the command center. Your hypothalamus then activates your systematic nervous system, and your adrenal glands start pumping out stress hormones. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, your breathing becomes faster and shallower. Blood flow is redirected away from your digestive system, which is why you sometimes feel nauseous during stress, and toward your major muscle groups. Your pupils dilated, you start sweating. But here is the critical part for us as professionals. When this stress response is activated, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, planning, impulse control, essentially gets hijacked. I think it may be sounding like too technical, but we need to understand what is there which runs in our body. So this is why we make stupid mistakes under pressure. This is why we sometimes say things we regret in heated client meetings. This is why we miss obvious errors when we are stressed. Our brilliant analytical CA trained brains biochemically compromised. I'll give you a personal example. Early in my career, I was handling the accounts finalization of a mid-sized manufacturing client. The board meeting was scheduled for the next day, and I was supposed to present the final numbers. At around 8 p.m., while doing a final reconciliation, I discovered that inventory valuation was off by about 12 lakhs. Not a trivial amount for that company, but I panicked. My first instinct was like, driven purely by stress. It was to adjust it quickly through some journal entries and not highlight it to anyone. Just fix it and move on. I was tired, stressed, and my brain was pure survival mode. Avoid the embarrassment, avoid the conflict, avoid the complexity. But fortunately, I had a senior colleague in the office who noticed my distress. He made me stop, take a walk, drink some water, and think it through rationally. Once my stress response calmed down, the correct decision became obvious. inform the client immediately, investigate the root cause, restate the numbers accurately, and yes, face the uncomfortable conversation. That decision, the right decision, would have been my first instinct if I was calm. But under pressure, my compromised prefrontal cortex was pushing me toward a potentially career ending shortcut. This is a fundamental challenge we face. We need our highest cognitive abilities precisely when our biology is working against us. So, how do we overcome this biological limitation? How do we make brilliant decisions when our brains are screaming at us to just react, to just survive, or to just through it? Over my years in practice and through studying everyone from corporate leaders to military strategists to emergency room doctors, all professions that demand decision making under pressure, I have identified 5 cognitive tools that are absolute game changers. These aren't theoretical concepts, these are practical, battle tested techniques that you can implement starting today. First, the sacred pause. The first and most powerful tool is something I called sacred pause. It sounds almost too simple to be effective, but I promise you, it's revolutionary. The sacred pause is a deliberate, intentional break between stimulus and response. When something urgent happens, a crisis email, a panic call, a sudden discovery, instead of immediately reacting, you pause just for a moment. Something literally like 3 seconds, something sometimes it's 3 minutes, sometimes it may be 3 hours. The renowned psychiatrist said something profound. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. Let me tell you how this works in practice. You know, those WhatsApp messages from clients that immediately spike your BP, the ones that start with urgent or we have problem, or the dreaded ones like, are you free for 2 minutes? Your natural instinct is to respond immediately. To show you are responsive, to start problem solving right away. But here is what I have learned. Responding immediately when you are in a triggered state almost always leads to suboptimal decisions. Instead, try this. You know, uh, read the message, feel the stress, then consciously pause. Take 3 deep breaths, and I mean really deep breaths. The kind where your belly expands, not just your chest. Then read the message again. You know, you will be amazed at how different your perception is after just this tiny pause. I had a situation last year where a client sent a message at 9 p.m. saying there was a major GST issue and that uh, we might be facing a huge penalty. My immediate reaction was full panic mode. My mind immediately went to worst case scenarios. How big is the penalty? Did I make a mistake? Blah, blah. I was about to call him immediately and probably would have spent the entire night in anxiety. But I practiced the sacred pause. I put my phone down. I went for a 10-minute walk. When I came back and turns out the mail was a minor in GSTR 2A that could be easily reconciled. The huge penalty was potential interest calculation of about 8,000 rupees. If I had reacted immediately, I would have made it a bigger crisis than it actually was. The sacred pause gave me back my rational brain. Now I know what some of you are thinking. No, like, sir, like, but in my practice, everything is urgent. I can't pause clients, expect immediate response. This is the truth. Most things that feel urgent aren't actually urgent. They are just presented urgently. There is a difference between a genuine emergency and a manufactured urgency. A genuine emergency is a server crash during audit season or statute deadline expiring in hours. A manufactured urgency is a client who always wants everything immediately because they didn't plan properly. And here is something else. When you practice the sacred pause and respond with more thoughtfulness and quality, clients actually respect you more. They begin to see you as a strategic advisor rather than a reactive task doer. Next, decision framework model. The second cognitive tool is about creating decision frameworks before you are in a crisis mode. This is about doing the thinking when you are calm so that you don't have to do when you are stressed. Let me explain through an example. Fighter pilots, they use something called if then protocols. If they take off, they mentally rehearse various scenarios. If I encounter enemy fire from the left, then I will do X. If my instruments fail, I will do Y. They are not making up their response in the heat of the battle. They are executing a pre-planned protocol. We can do the same things as CAs, create decision frameworks for common pressure situations. For instance, uh, I have a framework for qualification decisions in audit reports. Before audit season even starts, I have already thought through my principles. Like if there is a material misstatement that management refuses to correct, then I file a report. No exceptions, no matter who the client is. If there is a limitation in scope due to client imposed restrictions, then I issue a disclaimer. And I have already prepared the template language. If there is an accounting policy disagreement, then I follow this specific escalation protocol. Discuss with CFO, then with audit committee, then with my technical team, then decide. Having these frameworks in place means that when I am in the pressure situation, like uh, when the CFO is in my cabin asking me to reconsider, when the phone is ringing the CEO secretary, or I'm not making the decision in that. I have, already made it. I'm just executing it. Similarly, I have, frameworks for client acceptance and continuation decisions, fee negotiation boundaries, scope expansion requests, team member performance, during busy season. Each framework is like a pre-installed software in my brain. Let me introduce you to another powerful technique. It's the pre-mortem. This is different from post-mortem, you know, which is what we do after something goes wrong. Pre-mortem is imagining that something has already gone wrong and then working backward to figure out what could have caused it. Here is how I use pre-mortem in practice. Let's say uh, I'm planning a complex merger audit. Instead of just making a project plan and hoping for the best, I do a pre-mortem exercise with my team. I say, uh, it's 3 months from now. This audit has been an absolute disaster. We have missed the deadlines. The client is furious, and we are facing potential professional consequences. Now, what happened? Wrong. Then brainstorms all possible failure points. Like the client didn't give us access to subsidiary records on time. We didn't have enough staff with M&A experience. There was a major contingent liability we discovered late. Anything. No. Once we have identified all these potential failure points, we can build in preventive measures. We can write it into the engagement letters. We can plan resources allocation differently. We can set earlier interim deadlines. This isn't and the beautiful thing is once you have mentally rehearsed the worst case scenarios, the actual pressure situation feels less overwhelmed becoming because you have already been there in your mind. Third, priority decision protocol. Uh, you might have probably heard of the Eisenhower matrix, that time management tool that categorizes tasks into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, urgent but not important, important but not urgent, and neither urgent nor important. But I have evolved this concept specifically for high pressure CA decision making, and I call it the priority decision protocol. Here is the problem with the traditional matrix. When you are under pressure, everything feels both urgent and important. That GST return, urgent and important. That client call, urgent and important. That audit working paper review, urgent and important. Your brain can't distinguish bit anymore because everything is screaming for attention. Here is my adopted version. When faced with multiple pressure points, I ask myself three questions in this exact sequence. First, what are the irreversible consequences of not doing it right now? This is about true urgency. If I don't file this tax return by midnight, we face penalties. That's irreversible. If I don't call this client back immediately, they might be mildly annoyed. That's not irreversible. I can call them tomorrow morning with better information. Next question. What's the asymmetric impact of getting this decision right versus wrong? Some decisions, have huge downside risk, but limited upside benefits. Others have limited downside, but potentially massive upside. Understanding this asymmetric helps prioritize. For example, uh, accepting might give you, say, 2 lakhs in fees, but if things goes wrong, you could face reputational damage, professional negligence claim, and years of stress. The asymmetry is terrible, limited upside, massive downside. Easy decisions. No. Conversely, uh, investing 3 hours in improving your internal quality control process might feel like a luxury when you are busy. But the upside, fewer errors, better team performance, reduced liability, far outweighs the downside. That's a good symmetry. And the last, what decisions would I make if I had infinite time to think about it? This question is powerful, because it bypasses the artificial urgency and gets to your core values and judgment. If the answer you had, give with the infinite time is different from what you are about to do under pressure, that's a red flag. It means the pressure is compromising your decision quality. I remember during one particularly chaotic tax season, I had 5 urgent matters all competing for my attention on the same day. During this protocol, you know, uh, the matter was like my matter company final accounts approval, irreversible consequences if delayed, board meetings would be postponed, costing significantly. Asymmetric impact was high. Infinite time decisions would definitely prioritize. So that was my first priority. Second matter, uh, there was a prospective client wanting to meet urgently. Irreversible consequences? None. Really. Because they can wait a day. Asymmetric impact? Possibility of new client, but also might be a time waster. In a infinite time decision question, I like to research them first before committing time. So that would be my fourth priority or the last, in the last rankings. Uh, Third matter like tedious return filing. Irreversible consequences is penalty if I miss deadline tomorrow. Asymmetric impact would be moderate. Infinite time decision, definitely do it because you have to do it. So that would be my priority number two. Next, matter number four, a team member having a breakdown and needing to talk. Irreversible consequences, maybe like losing a valuable team member, human being distress. Asymmetric impact is very high for team morale, retention, values. For the infinite time decision making, absolutely make time for people, always make time for people. So that's my first priority. And suppose a matter number five is professional webinar invitation. Irreversible consequences is none. It's recorded. Asymmetric impact would be low immediate impact, and infinite time decision would be like watching the recording later. So that would be my priority number five, because I can do it whenever I want. This protocol helped me, to see clearly what matters one and four and needed immediate attention. Matter two could wait. Matter three needed scheduling within 24 hours. And matter five was actually not urgent at all. Uh, Next tool, what would I would like to discuss is cognitive load management. It's like something that doesn't get enough attention in our profession. Cognitive load management. Your brain, has limited processing capacity. Think of it like a RAM in a computer. When you have too many applications running simultaneously, the computer slows down. Same with our brain. When we try to juggle too many decisions, consideration variables, inputs simultaneously, your decision quality degrades dramatically. Research in a cognitive psychology shows that our working memory can handle about 4 to 7 chunks of information at once. That's it. Not 20, not 40, just 4 to 7. Yet, during busy season, how many things are you trying to hold in your head simultaneously? Client A's tax issues, client B's audit queries, the new accounting standard interpretation, that GST litigation, that property tax management. But no wonder we make mistakes. But we are not weak, we are just exceeding our cognitive bandwidth. So here is a tool: ruthless externalization of memory and simplification of decisions. Externalization, it means getting things out of your head and into trusted systems. I use what I call the brain dump technique multiple times a day. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I literally stop everything and spend 5 minutes writing down every single thing that's on my mind: client concerns, personal tasks, random thoughts, everything. Once it's on paper or in my notes app, my brain can relax because it knows it won't forget anything. David Allen, who wrote Getting Things Done, talks about this beautifully. He says, our minds are for having ideas, not for holding them. When you try to use mind as a storage system, it constantly expends energy trying to remember things, leaving uh, less energy for actually thinking and deciding. So I maintain a comprehensive task management system. I use a combination of digital tools and physical notebooks. Now, SOPs for recurring activities, templates for common deliverables, checklists for complex processes. And checklist point is crucial. Atul Gaude's book, The Checklist Manifesto, revolutionized how I work. He studied how pilots, surgeons, and architects, use checklists to manage complexity. If trained pilots who fly the same aircraft for years still use pre-filled checklists, why do we CS think we can do complex audit without them? I now have checklist for audit planning and completion, tax return review, client onboarding, financial statement finalization, team review process. You know, these checklists don't make me robotic. They free up my cognitive capacity for actual judgment and analysis rather than trying to remember procedural steps. Simplification. Uh, it's about deliberately reducing decision fatigue. Did you know that decision fatigue is real, measurable phenomenon? Studies show that judges are more likely to grant parole early in the day than late in the day. No, simply because they are mentally tired. Some facts, same crimes, different decisions based on mental fatigue. We also make hundreds of decisions every day. What to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, which task to prioritize, how to respond to a query. Each decision depletes your mental energy a little bit. By the evening, you are making worse decisions not because you are less intelligent, but because you are mentally depleted. So, I have simplified my life in deliberate ways. I eat same breakfast every weekday, one less decision. I have a work uniform of sorts. I have simplified my wardrobe choices. I have set protocols for routine communications rather than crafting each response from scratch. I batch similar tasks together rather than context switching constantly. This might sound extreme to some of you, but here is the result. I have more mental energy for the decisions that actually matter. When a client needs a strategic tax advice, when an audit committee is asking tough questions, when I'm reviewing critical judgments, that's when I need my full cognitive capacity. I'm not going to waste it deciding whether idli and or poha for breakfast. The perspective shift. The final cognitive tool is perhaps the most profound. Learning to shift your perspective in high pressure moments. When we are under pressure, our perspective narrows dramatically. Psychologists call this tunnel vision. We become fixated on the immediate crisis and lose sight for the bigger picture. We forget context. No, like I learned this lesson, in a painful way. A few years ago, I made an error in a tax computation for a relatively small client. The error cost them about 1.5 lakhs in additional tax. When I discovered it, I was devastated. I couldn't sleep. I was convinced my career was over. I'd be sued, that my reputation was destroyed. The pressure and shame were, crushing. Then my mentor asked me a simple question. In 10 years, will this matter? The question broke my spiral. In 10 years, would I even remember this? Would my career be defined by this one mistake? The honest answer was no. It was a painful learning experience, but it wasn't career ending. I rectified it, worked out solution with the client, improved my review process, and moved forward. This is the perspective shift. Learning to zoom out from the immediate pressure to see the broader context. I now use several perspective shifting techniques. The 10-10-10 rule. Facing a pressure decision, I ask, how I feel about this decision in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years. For instance, the client who wants you to be explaining in 10 minutes, might be clever finding a loophole. In 10 months, when the scrutiny notice comes, you will feel anxious. In 10 years, if it turns into litigation, you will regret it deeply. This simple exercise provides clarity. The deathbed test. This sounds morbid, but stay with me. When you are on your deathbed, reflecting on your career and life, what will matter? Will you remember that you work every single weekend during busy season? Or will you remember missing your son's school play? Will you remember that difficult client who paid huge fees? Or will you remember the professional integrity you maintained? This isn't about being morbid. It's about connecting daily decisions to ultimate values. When I am under pressure to compromise on ethics for commercial reasons, this test provides instant clarity. The third person perspective. This is a fascinating psychological technique. When you are stressed about a decision, imagine you are advising a fellow CA who is facing the same situation. What would you tell them? It's remarkable how different your advice is when it's for someone else versus for yourself. When it's someone else, you are more rational, more balanced, more wise. When it's you are trapped in emotion and pressure. So, literally, talk to yourself in third person. Okay, what should I know? You name. What should CA Manish Goyal do in this situation? It creates a psychological distance that improves decision quality. The gratitude reset. No, uh, when pressure is building and everything feels like a crisis, I do what I call gratitude reset. I literally list three things I am grateful for in that moment. I am grateful I have clients who trust me enough to bring me their problems. I am grateful I have the skills to solve complex challenges. I am grateful I have a profession that provides well for my family. This isn't toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's resetting your brain's threat detection system. When you are grateful, it's neurologically harder to be in panic mode. It doesn't solve the problem, but it shifts your state so you can approach the problem more effectively. You know, now I want you to bring all these tools together by walking through some real world scenarios. These are situations that many of us have faced or will face, and then I will show you how these cognitive tools apply in practice. First, the midnight audit crisis. It's 11:30 p.m. during the audit season. You are finalizing a significant audit and you discovered a potential fraud indicator in the revenue recognition pattern of a major client. The accounts need to be signed off by tomorrow morning for the board meeting. Your team is exhausted. The CFO is a personal friend, and the partner is asking you to just get it done. Here are the pressure factors. First, the time pressure, deadline in hours, relationship pressure, personal connections, career pressure, because it's partners' expectations, uncertainty. No, is it actually a fraud or just an error? Fatigue, because you are mentally exhausted. Now, let's apply these tools. First, take a second pause. No, stop. Don't make any decision in the next 5 minutes. Make tea, walk to the washroom, take three deep breaths, get out of reactive mode. Then, decision framework, recall your pre established framework. You have already decided that if there is a potential material misstatement, you escalate and investigate, regardless of relationship or time pressure. You are not deciding, you are executing a prior decision. In a priority decision protocol, irreversible consequences are if you sign off and it is a fraud, your career is over. If you delay and it's nothing, board meeting is postponed. The asymmetry is clear. Professional integrity trumps convenience. Infinite time decision would be you had definitely investigate thoroughly, and therefore the priority is investigation, not rushing to sign off. Under cognitive load management, don't try to figure out yourself at midnight when you are exhausted. Call your technical team, call the partner, wake him, yes, wake them up if needed. Get the fraud investigation specialist involved. Distribute the cognitive load. Perspective shift, 10 10 10 rule. In 10 minutes, uh, You will feel uncomfortable saying no to the timeline. In 10 months, you will feel vindicated. In 10 years, you will remember this as the moment you choose integrity over convenience and make the decision. Inform the CFO and partner immediately that you have identified a matter requiring further investigation. Request postponement of the board meeting. Begin proper investigative procedures. Document everything thoroughly. And the outcome would be like there will be a short term discomfort. The client might be unhappy, but you have protected your professional integrity and potentially saved the client from a bigger crisis if it does turn out to be material issue. Next, let's take one more case study. You are advising a client on a corporate restructuring. The client's lawyers have suggested a transaction structure that is technically legal. It's not explicitly prohibited by any law or regulation. However, you know the substance of the transaction is designed purely to avoid tax. The client is pressuring you to sign off on it. The lawyers are saying it's fine. Your firm would earn substantial fee, but your gut is telling this is aggressive and potentially problematic. The pressure factor here are professional courtesy because lawyers have given their opinion, commercial pressure, fees and client relationship at stake, legal ambiguity because it's not clearly illegal, the peer pressure. Other CAs might be comfortable with this. So, what to do in such situation? Apply these tools again. The sacred pause. This is not a decision to make in the meeting with the client. Tell them you need to review the structure carefully and will respond within 48 hours. Decision framework. What's your pre-established framework for ethical gray zones? Here is mine. If I wouldn't want to explain this decision to a regulator or court, don't do it. If I wouldn't want this decision to be on the front page of the newspaper with my name attached, don't do it. If the primary purpose is tax avoidance rather than genuine business purpose, it's too aggressive. The priority protocols would be irregular consequences. If you approve this, it later gets challenged. You face professional consequences, reputation damage, and potential legal liability. If you decline, you lose this client and fee. Asymmetric impact would be uh, catastrophically bad asymmetry, massive downside, relatively modest upside. Infinite time decision would be choose the conservative path that lets you sleep peacefully. Uh, Under cognitive load, don't rely on your own judgment. Consult with your technical team. Get a second opinion from a trusted peer or your professional body's ethics helpline. Review relevant case law and technical guidelines. For the perspective shift, deathbed test would be good. Will you remember the fee you earned, or will you remember the integrity you maintained? And for the third person, what would you tell a young CA asking for your advice in this situation? Then, doing this, you will be able to make a decision that would provide honest opinion about risk, recommend conservative approach, and decline if client insists on aggressive structure. Always remember your reputation is worth more than any single fee. Now that we have covered the tools and case studies, I want to zoom out and talk about the psychology of sustaining high performance under pressure over the long term. Because here is the thing, handling one crisis is achievable. Handling continuous pressure year after year without burning out, that's the real challenge. The myth of work life balance is like, uh, let me be controversial for a moment. No, I think work life balance is the wrong framework for CAs. Balance implies a 50-50 split, a perfect equilibrium that we are supposed to maintain. But our profession doesn't work that way, does it? March is never going to be balanced. September and October during audit season are never going to be balanced. When you are closing a major transaction or dealing with a regulatory issue, balance goes out the window. Instead of work life balance, I prefer the concept of work life integration and rhythmic intensity. Here is what I mean. No. Uh, there are some seasons of intensity where work dominates. During these seasons, you go on, you work long hours, you make sacrifices, you deliver, but you do it consciously, with an end point in mind and with strategies to sustain yourself. Then there are seasons of recovery where you deliberately pull back, recharge, and invest in other areas of your life. You take the vacation you have been postponing, you spend quality time with family, you pursue that hobby you have been neglecting. The key is making these rhythms intentional rather than just being perpetually overwhelmed. I follow a practice I call sprint and recover. During uh, busy season, I am in sprint mode. I communicate this clearly to my family. For the next 6 weeks, I'll be working intense hours, but then we are taking a proper break. This sets expectations and creates a light at the end of the tunnel. Then, after busy season, I deliberately take at least a week off, completely off. No emails, no calls, except the genuine emergencies. I have learned, that if I don't proactively schedule recovery, it never happens. There is always another client, another deadline, another urgent matter. Building resilience, the mental fitness practice. Physical fitness requires regular exercise, right? Uh, you don't go to gym once a year and expect to be fit. You build strength through consistent, repeated practice. Mental fitness is the same. Handling pressure well isn't something you do once, it's practice you develop over time. Here are the practices I have integrated into my routine. Daily mindfulness for 10 minutes. I know this sounds like Silicon Valley nonsense, but hear me out. Every morning, I spend 10 minutes in simple meditation. Not anything fancy. It's no just sitting quietly, focusing on my breath, noticing my thoughts without engaging with them. This practice has fundamentally changed how I handle pressure. It's it's trained my mind, my brain to observe stress without immediately reacting to it. When a crisis email comes in, instead of immediate panic, there is a tiny gap where I can choose my response. That gap is gold. There are plenty of apps if you want guidance. Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer, or you can just sit quietly for 10 minutes. The specific method matters less than consistency. Weekly review every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening, whatever time it suits you. I spend an hour reviewing the past week and planning the next one. I ask myself, what went well this week? What didn't go well? What did I learn? What are my top priorities for next week? What can I say no to or delegate? This practice keeps me from just being reactive to whatever comes up. It creates intentionality. Physical sleep, and that's not negotiable. It isn't optional for me anymore. I exercise at least 4 times a week. Uh, Physical exercise, sorry, not physical sleep, physical exercise. Uh, I exercise at least 4 times a week, even during busy season. When I skip exercise, my stress levels skyrocket, my sleep quality degrades, and my decision making, suffers. Exercise isn't a luxury; it's a performance enhancer. It literally changes your brain chemistry, reduces cortisol, improves sleep, and enhance cognitive function. If you think you are busy to exercise, you are too busy to be effective. The power of self compassion. Uh, Here is something we don't talk about enough in our profession. Self compassion. We are trained to be critical, to find errors, to point out what's wrong. We apply this skill masterfully to financial statements, tax computations, audit evidences, but we also often unconsciously apply it to ourselves. We make one mistake, and our inner voice says, how could you be so careless? You should have caught that earlier. You are not competent enough. What if someone finds out? This harsh self criticism doesn't make us better professionals. Research actually shows it makes us worse. When we are in a state of self criticism and shame, our cognitive function decreases, our creativity diminishes, and we become more averse in unhelpful ways. Self compassion isn't about lowering standards or excusing mistakes, it's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a colleague facing a similar situation. When I make a mistake now and I still make them, we all do. Instead of spiraling into self criticism, I practice three-step self compassion response. First, acknowledge the common humanity. Mistakes happen to everyone in this profession. I am not uniquely incompetent. This is part of being human. Be kind to myself. This is difficult and I'm doing my best. What would I say to team member in this situation? Next, focus on learning and action. What can I learn from this? What systems can I put place to prevent this in future? And what's the best way forward? This approach doesn't mean I am not accountable. I still take full responsibility, but make amendments where needed and implement improvements. But I do it from a place of strength rather than shame. Advanced decision making. Let me uh, talk about those moments when the stakes are truly highest, the career defining decisions, the situations where there is no clear right answer, where whatever you choose has significant consequences. These are the moments that separate good CAs from the great ones. Not because great CAs have some magical ability to always make the perfect decision, but because they have frameworks for navigating impossible choices. First, the value hierarchy. When facing a decision where all options have significant downsides, I use what I call value hierarchy. This is pre-established ranking of my professional values that helps me make choices when values come into conflict. First, professional integrity and ethics. This is not negotiable, top of my pyramid. Client service and duty of care. Serving clients well within the our ethical bounds. Next, team well-being and deployment, professional development and excellence, and financial success. Making a good living, but not at the expense of the above. When I am facing a tough decision, I ask which of my values is in conflict here, and according to my hierarchy, which one takes precedence. For example, imagine a scenario where accepting a high paying client would require your team to work unsustainable hours. The values in conflict would be financial success versus team well being. According to my hierarchy, team well being ranks higher, decision becomes clearer. Or imagine a situation where a client wants you to take an aggressive position that's legal but ethically questionable. Values in conflict over here would be client service, client service versus professional integrity. According to my hierarchy, professional integrity ranks higher. The decision becomes clearer. Having this pre-established hierarchy doesn't make the decisions easy, but it makes them clearer. You are not making up your values in the heat of the moment. You are applying values you have thoughtfully established when you were calm and reflective. The inversion principle. Now, client Munge, Warren Buffett's partner, popularized something called inversion thinking. Instead of making how do I succeed, you ask how do I fail. Then you avoid doing those things. I use this principle for major decisions. Instead of making how do I make the best decision here, I ask. I believe there is a electricity issue. Some I should open up the windows. Uh, I was once considering a partnership opportunity with another CA firm. Lots of upside potential, combined client base, shared resources, financial benefits. Uh, but I was also feeling pressure to make decision quickly. Instead of focusing on the potential upside, I used inversion. I asked, what would make this partnership a disaster? The answer came quickly. Misaligned values around quality and ethics, different approaches to work life integration, unclear decision making authority, unresolved financial expectation, no exit strategy if things don't work out. Then I checked, have we addressed these potential failure points? No, we hadn't discussed most of them. We were focused on the exciting opportunities and glossing over the hard questions. That inversion analysis led me to slow down, have the difficult conversations, and ultimately structure the partnership much more carefully. It turned out to be a great decision, but only because we addressed the potential failure points upfront. Minimization framework. Jeff Bezos talking about using a regret minimization framework for big decisions. He projects himself to age 80 and asked, will I regret not doing it? I have adopted this for professional decision making. When facing a significant choice, I ask, which option will I regret less if I no if it doesn't work out? Notice the framing. Not which option will make me happiest if it succeeds, but which option will I regret less if it fails? This shift in perspective is powerful. For example, uh, I once had to decide whether to report a potential regulatory violation by a client. It was gray area. The violation wasn't crystal clear, and reporting would damage the client relationship and potentially harm their business. Regret minimization framework. If I report and I'm wrong, I harm to the client relationship. If I don't report and it turns out to be a serious violation that causes harm, I regret the ethical lapse and potential complexity. Which regret can I live with better? The professional and personal answer was clear. You know, I could live with a losing client relationship, but I couldn't live with knowing I had enabled something potentially harmful through my silence. That framework gave me courage to make the harder but right decision. Crisis management. Now, uh, let's talk about genuine crisis. Those situations where multiple things are going wrong simultaneously, where there is real potential for significant harm, where you need to perform at your absolute best despite maximum pressure. I went through a few of these, in my career. Let me share the crisis management protocol I have developed. The crisis framework, the four phases. Phase one, immediate stabilization. First 30 minutes. When a crisis hits, first 30 minutes are critical. Your goals are to stop the bleeding, gather core information, what happened, what's the scope, assemble your response team, who needs to be involved, communicate appropriately. And what you do not do in the first 30 minutes is don't assign blame game. Don't try to find the root cause. Don't make the irreversible decisions. Don't communicate to broader audience until you have the clarity. I learned this harder way, but that's the good thing. Now I follow this framework religiously. Next is assessment. You know, once once the immediate stabilization is done, you move to assessment, full situation analysis. For the next 2 to 4 hours, full situation analysis. What's the complete picture? What are implications? Risk assessment, resource inventory, strategic options, decision and action plans. No, choose the best course of action and create an execution plan. Then comes execution, the ongoing management. You have to execute your plan while continuously managing the situation. Clear task allocation, who is doing what, by when. Communicate regular updates to stakeholders. Progress the monitoring and document everything. Decisions, rational actions taken, everything. And the last one, resolution and learning. That comes post crisis. Once the crisis is resolved, don't just move on. Conduct a thorough post-mortem. What happened, what went well, and what didn't. Identify systematic improvements. Update your protocols, revise your procedures. Team team debrief. Help your team process the experience. So next comes with the Clara communication framework. One aspect of decision making under pressure that doesn't get enough attention is communicating those decisions effectively, especially when the decision is unpopular or difficult. You have used all your cognitive tools, you have made the right decision, but now you have to explain it to a client who is unhappy with your conclusion, or a partner who disagrees with your approach, a team member who is affected by your choice, a regulator who is questioning your judgments. How you communicate these decisions can be as important as the decisions themselves. Here comes the Clara framework for difficult conversations. First, the context. Start by establishing shared context. What's the situation we are both dealing with? What are the facts we agreed on? Then listen before explaining your decision. Genuinely listen to the other person's perspective, concerns, and emotions. This isn't token listening, it's real. Then articulate, clearly articulate your decision and critically your reasoning, not just what you decided, but why you decided it. Share the framework you used, the values you applied, the considerations you weighed, and show some respect for the other person's position, even if you disagree. Acknowledge the validity of their concerns, the difficulty of the situation, and their right to feel the way they do. And at the last, end with clear next steps. What happens now? What are you asking of them? What are you committing to do? No, let me show you this in a practice. Imagine uh, you have to tell a long standing client that you are recommending a qualification in their audit report, something they strongly oppose. Here, the bad approach would be like we have reviewed your account and have decided we need to the audit report due to inventory valuation issue or maybe some other issue. This is our professional judgment and we need you to accept it. Let us know if you have any questions. That's going to create conflict and damage the relationship, even if you are technically right. But as per Clara approach, first give the context. Thank you for meeting with me. We are both committed to ensuring your financial statements accurately reflect the company's position, and we are both aware of the pressure to complete this audit for your upcoming board meeting. Then listen, no, listen to them. Like before I share my recommendation, I want to understand your perspective on the inventory valuation methodology. You know, listen to them genuinely to the response. Then articulate like I have carefully considered all aspects of this situation, including your methodology, the accounting standards, the materiality thresholds, and based on my professional judgment, I believe the current inventory valuation represents a material departure from the applicable accounting standards. And here is my specific reasoning oh, in detail. And always respect them. I understand isn't the outcome you're hoping for, and I recognize the implication this has for your board meeting and stakeholders communication. Give them the respect they need. Then come to the action. Like, uh, here is what I propose as next steps. I will provide you with detailed technical memo explaining my position. You know, see the difference. You have reached the same conclusion. A qualification is necessary, but you have communicated it in a way that preserves dignity, shows respect, and maintains the relationship as much as possible. Now comes sometimes, despite your best communication approach, you face aggressive pushback. The client threatens to change auditors. The partner questions your competence. The regulator implies you don't know what you talk about. In these moments, here is what I have learned: stay calm. No, the moment you become defensive, you lose credibility. Don't take it personally. They are no not actually attacking you as a person. They are reacting to a situation they find stressful or threatening. Reaffirm your position without being rigid. No, I have considered your concerns and remain confident in my position. Document everything. In high pressure, high stake situations, document all conversations, decisions, and rationales, and know when to stand firm and when to escalate. Some hills are worth dying on: professional integrity, regulatory compliance, ethical standards, but others aren't. Personal preferences, stylistic choices, minor technical disagreements. Sorry. No, get that difference. And here is something important. No, sometimes the right decision is to walk away, because not every client relationship should be preserved. Not every engagement is worth the stress. If a client is consistently pressuring you to compromise your professional judgment, that's not your client, that you want. Now we have covered a lot of on ground today: cognitive tools, decision frameworks, crisis management, communication strategies. But here is the question: how do you actually implement all of this in your practice? Uh, Let me give you a concrete step by step approach to building your personal pressure management system. Week one, no. Start by understanding your current state, the baseline. Track your stress triggers for 1 week. Every time you feel under pressure, write down why, triggered, what time of day, and what was the situation. You will start seeing the patterns, and then assess the decision quality. Look back at the past month decisions. Which ones are there which made you happy? Which would you change? What the ones you would change were made under pressure? Then for the week two, don't try to implement everything at once. Start with the foundation, then the sacred pause. Practice this every single day, even in low pressure situations. Make it a habit. Daily planning: spend 15 minutes each morning deciding your top three priorities for the day. Just three. Physical reset: build in at least one physical activity per day. It could be walk, exercise, yoga, whatever. And sleep hygiene, commit to a consistent sleep schedule. Set a bedtime and stick to it. For week three, start, creating your personal decision framework. Values hierarchy, write down your professional values in the order of priority, your client acceptance criteria, those which are not negotiables, your mental boundaries, the lines you won't cross ever, and your scope creep protocol, handling the additional work requests that are given. Make them explicit, and share with team, if relevant. And for the week 4, practice and refine. Like start applying frameworks with tools. Use the priority decision protocol for at least one decision each day. Use Clara framework in at least one difficult conversation. Conduct a weekly review every Sunday. Reflect on what's working and what needs updation. And it's an ongoing, continuous improvement process. This isn't a one-time exercise. It should be done a monthly review, a quarterly, annual, at least once a month. Review your stress log, decisions, outcome, pressure situations. What patterns do you see? What's improving? What needs more work? And for a quarter, every quarter, do more comprehensive review of your pressure management system. Update your frameworks, refine your practices, and at least once a year, do a thorough reassessment. Are you thriving or just surviving? What major changes do you need to make? It's a continuous process you can adopt for weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual process. Now, as we approach the end of our time together, I want to zoom out to bigger picture of all. Why does any of this actually matter? Why should you invest time and energy into building these cognitive tools and pressure management systems? The answer goes beyond just your personal well-being, though that's important. The answer goes beyond your professional success, though that matters too. The answer is about the kind of profession we are building and the legacy we are leaving. There is a perception, sometimes even among ourselves, that chartered accountants are just technical experts, number crunchers, tickers, that our job is to apply rules, follow standards, and produce reports. That's not who we are. That's never been who we are. We are trusted advisors. We are guardians of financial integrity. We are the people that stakeholders rely on to make sense of complexity, to provide assurance in uncertainty, to uphold standards when it's difficult to do so. When we sign an audit report, investors make decisions based on that signature. When we provide tax advice, business structures, no, businesses structure themselves based on that guidance. When we prepare financial statements, lenders extend credit based on those numbers. Our decisions have ripples. Our judgment affects lives, not in abstract ways, but in real, concrete ways. Employees depend on companies that depend on capital, that depend on financial statements, that depend on our integrity. This is why managing pressure and making good decisions isn't just about us, it's about everyone who depends on us. way you handle pressure sets the tone for your entire team and, in broader sense, for the profession. If you model chronic stress, reactive decision making, and corner cutting under pressure, that's what your team members learn. They learn that success in this profession means sacrificing well being and occasionally compromising standards. But if you model thoughtful decision making, principled judgment, and sustainable practices, even under pressure, you give them a different model. You show them that it's possible to be excellent without burning out, to be successful without compromising integrity. Young CAs and article assistants are watching us. They are learning not just from what we say in training sessions, but from what we do in the pressure is on. We are training the next generation not through our words, but through our actions. What do we want them to learn? The ripple effect. I want to tell you a no, a small story. This one is about the ripple effect of making good decisions under pressure. About 5 years ago, I was auditing a mid-sized company. During our procedure, we discovered what appeared to be a kickback scheme involving some senior management personnel. The evidence was circumstantial but concerning. I faced enormous pressure to just note it in our internal files and not make waves. The company was a good client, the fees were significant, and publicly raising concerns would be messy and complicated. But using the decision framework I have shared with you today, I decided to report my concerns to the audit committee. It was uncomfortable. The management was furious. The engagement became significantly more complicated. But the audit committee took the concerns seriously and launched an investigation. It turned out our suspicions were correct. There were systematic fraud occurring. The company took corrective action, removed the responsible parties, and strengthened their controls. Here is the ripple. No, that investigation prevented what would have become a much larger fraud. It protected the company's shareholders, many of whom were small investors, maybe who put their retirement savings into the stock. It protected the employees whose jobs would have been at risk if the fraud had continued and eventually collapsed the company. It sent a signal to the market that audit integrity matters. Would another auditor have caught it if they hadn't? If I hadn't, maybe, or maybe not. But I caught it, and I made the hard decision to act on it, and it made a difference. That's the ripple effect of good decision making under pressure. You might never know the full extent of the positive impact when you make the right call, but it's there. It's spreading outward in ways you can't always see. Now, the action plan that you can start today. You have listened to frameworks, strategies, examples, and philosophy, but none of it matters unless you actually do something with it. So, let me give you a concrete action plan, things you can start implementing today, right after this webinar ends. You know, create your sacred pause trigger. No, set an alarm on your phone that goes off 3 times a day. When it rings, stop whatever you are doing. Take 3 deep breaths and check in with yourself. This trains the sacred pause habit. Next, write down your values integrity, values hierarchy. It takes 15 minutes right now to write down your professional values in order of priority. Keep this somewhere. You can refer it easily and identify your next pressure decision. You probably have one coming up. Apply one of the frameworks we discussed to that decision before you make it. Keeping the time frame short, I'm just cutting off few slides so that we can end it in a timely manner. Uh,
Sure, we can do, no worry.
the privilege and responsibility. So, my dear colleagues, as we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. Being a chartered accountant is a privilege. Not everyone gets to do what we do. We have earned the right to call ourselves CAs through years of study, rigorous exams, and intensive training and ongoing professional development. That designation after our name isn't just letters, it's mark of trust, competence, and responsibility. But with the privilege comes responsibility, the responsibility to uphold standards even when it's hard, the responsibility to make good decisions even when we are under pressure, the responsibility to maintain our competence and our integrity throughout our careers. The frameworks and tools I have shared today aren't just about managing stress or making better decisions. They are about honoring that responsibility. They are about ensuring that we can live up to the trust that society has placed in us. There will be days when you are exhausted, when the deadlines are crushing, when the pressure feels unbearable. In those moments, remember you have tools, you have frameworks, you have the ability to pause, think, and choose your response. You are not just reacting to circumstances, you are making conscious choices that reflect your values and your commitment to excellence. Always remember, you have the power to choose your response to pressure. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a trained professional with sophisticated capabilities. And when you combine training with these cognitive tools, you become truly formidable. A call to excellence. In closing, I just want to leave you with a challenge, a call to excellence. Excellence in our profession isn't about never feeling pressure. It's about performing well under pressure. Excellence isn't about always making perfect decisions. It's about making principled decisions consistently. Excellence isn't about working yourself to exhaustion. It's about building sustainable practices that allows you to thrive over decades. That's the kind of excellence, our profession deserves. That's the kind of excellence our clients deserve. That's the kind of excellence you deserve for yourself. The world needs excellent chartered accountants now more than ever. It needs people who can maintain clarity in complexity, integrity under pressure, and wisdom in uncertainty. You can be that person. You have the training, you have the capability, and now you have the additional tools to help you perform at your best when the pressure is highest. So, uh, go forth from this webinar with renewed commitments. Commit to your own excellence, commit to continuous improvements, commit to building the kind of practice and career that you will be proud of, not just today, but when you look back on it decades from now. Because ultimately, that's what this is all about, building a career and a life that you are proud of, making decisions that let you sleep peacefully at night, creating a legacy that uh, goes beyond the numbers on financial statements to the impact you had on people, organization, and the profession itself. Uh, with deep gratitude, I want to once again thank CA Jay Chaira sir, CA Abhay Chajar sir, CA Sambit Patra Mishra sir, and the entire Professional Skills Enrichment Committee for organizing this session and for the ongoing commitment to enhancing our profession. To all of you who have spent this time with me today, thank you. Thank you for your attention, your engagement, and your commitment to becoming better professionals. Remember, the cognitive tools we discussed today are just tools. And no, remember the fundamentals that we have explored today. You have the power to choose your response to pressure. And my wishes for everyone, may you make brilliant decisions under pressure, build sustainable, successful practices, find fulfillment in this challenging profession, and always remember your privilege, your responsibility, your impact. You are not just chartered accountants, you are guardians of trust, architects of integrity, and pillars of the economic system. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank,
CA Chetanji,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
for
Thank you
giving me
so
this
much.
opportunity time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful session. Now, I'd like to every member who have any question in your mind, you can ask from our speaker, CA Manish Goyal ji. If anyone have any question, but till then, I would like to say something that we listen from our guardians or our parents that if decision is taken too late, then it may be harmful, and it is right as per my experience, and if it is taken too late it may be harmful, so decision must be taken at right time, right place, as we understand by Manish Goyal ji. They shared so many things about decision and cognitive tools. If anyone have question, then please may ask. I don't think so, but sir, yes, we always feel pressure at the deadlines. So just one thing from my side, how you can mitigate the risk of taking decision at the last moment, as we are saying that we are at 11:30 and we have to take the decision.
See, everything starts from here. First, you have to calm your mind. Take a
Right.
pause. No. It's really very important to take a pause, sit idle for 2 minutes, stop thinking of everything what's going on in and around you. When you will calm down from here, you will get the way to do the neuroscience which I discussed in the starting.
Right. Okay. So we are at the closing of the session. I would like to thanks CA Manish Goyal ji. It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful webcast on decision making under pressure, cognitive tools for CA during deadlines and crisis, organized by the Professional Skill and Enrichment Committee (ICAI). On behalf of PSEC Committee (ICI), we would like to extend our gratitude, heartfelt gratitude, to our speaker CA Manish Goyal sir for his enlightful session. A wide round of applause and thanks to the organizer, Professional Skill Enrichment Committee (ICI). Our today's speaker CA Manish Goyal and other stakeholders made the webcast a memorable one. Finally, we would like to thank all of you present here and helping us make this webcast a grand success. Thank you, and thanks to special thanks to our chairman CA Jay Chhera ji and also vice chairman CA Abhay Chhajar ji. Also, sir, thank you, sir, Sambit Kaur Mishra sir, and thanks to our well team who managed this webcast. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Manish Goel sir. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.